Hello, and welcome back to the Black Online Summit.
Up.
Interactive consultation on things that are like games adjacent, and then once or
So the extract you just heard was from Feminist Infrequency podcast, hosted by Anita Sarkeesian, the gaming grifter who started World War IV with Gamergate 1.0, and that was Kim Belair, her special guest, who talked about reworking games adjacent, almost mentioning my name in the process, because of course, according to her lordship, Kim Belair, everything has to be a certain way now in video games. You know what my biggest fear is, ladies and gentlemen? It's not just stuck in a room with cackling hens called women, but diverse women who are all in their own individual echo chambers, smelling their own farts and ignoring criticism from the outside. Honestly, I need to be trapped in a room with beautiful bikini swimsuited models who don't say a word, and I think we'll get along just fine. Am I sexist? Am I toxic? I probably am, actually, and that's just my attitude, because honestly, when I have been working in an environment with women, it is just not the most pleasant thing ever. I recommend you, men, if you find yourself surrounded by a gaggle of geese in your office called females with a Melonoblonics, get the hell out and find another job. But today, folks, I have to give you an abridged reaction to the Summit video hosted by Jayan Lopez, hair of Black Girl Gamers, and of course our favorite activist and yours, Kim Belair, and they're joined by not Ash but Ass Parish from The Verge. So brace yourself, folks, this could be a bumpy ride. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Come again. Don't worry, baby, I'm coming.
Well, space fans, exciting news, huh? And there's even more in part 2.
On today's episode of Kung Fu Hot Dog.
Okay, you can come.
Are you coming?
Kind of busy right now.
And I'm coming for it, Ken. I'm coming for the fucking money, you piece of shit.
I'm like getting the feeling of coming in the gym. I'm getting the feeling of coming at home. I'm getting the feeling.
In the ass end of space, even aliens watch Jason King with Kung Fu Hot Dog.
This is the greatest show I've seen in my life.
Duke Nukem likes this guy.
Help! Help!
Approved by 1970s Robert Redford.
we want to cast it with 2 writers, so we're going to cast it with 2 writers within that, and then we're going to do the rest of the work ourselves.
Yeah, funny that. So Miss Belair's talked about, well, if you get a budget of $30,000, we don't need that many writers on this project because I am the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc. I need to get some of that dollar. And funny how they went to Game Science, allegedly in China, the people behind Black Myth Wukong, and wanted to extort $7 million from the Chinese, who then turned to Kim and went, we're not taking your calls anymore. See ya. You know, when I think about a summit, folks, I think about like thousands of people congregating in a massive arena, and their version, these are 3 women, by the way, it's just 3 women. That's not a summit. It's a mini gathering, right? A mini gathering of insufferable hens. The toxic side of gaming culture. Hashtag I couldn't give a shit. It's 26 minutes long. Oh no.
Of the day. I know. I hope you've had an amazing time.
Oh, I have, Jayan. Oh, did you buy any new lipstick today?
Real conversations about industry.
Real. Gotta keep it real, y'all.
All of us wanted to talk about and experience, and during the time we could not. Covering marginalized gamers and their communities, and CEO of Sweet Baby Inc.
Listen, Jayan Lopez, can I give you some advice from somebody who's been media trained? Try not to look like you're reading off a script. Maybe try and memorize the stuff before you go in front of the camera. And if you botch it up, just carry on like a absolute well, I can't call her a bro, but of course, she identifies as a she and a her. Of course, she does.
You know, whenever you write about those kinds of things, it really like kicks a hornet's nest over. And so you get all these kinds of negative.
It makes me laugh that Kim Belair sits there just sniffing a round of cocaine, like when she hears about the Gamergate 2.0, and it's like, oh, yeah, it's not really that. Again, why do women of color think that the world of video gaming is marginalized? There's no such thing. Again, I have covered this on a previous video where I talked about the dudes behind id Tech and how they formed that company. 3 white dudes who converged together because they all had the same passion, right? These girls don't have any passion. I don't think they're even that good in bed.
Attention on your social media, in your email, those kinds of things. I've gotten death threats to my voicemail that I've had to, call the FBI about.
Oh, have you really done that? I mean, yeah, you get death threats. You normally call the police first. You only get the FBI involved if it's really, really super serious that the police can't handle it. And if she did really, if the FBI really were involved, I mean, again, isn't that a waste of taxpayers' money? Come on, man.
And that's just
Ashley Parrish.
When you try to do your job as a journalist and write about these things that are
a urinalist. You're not a journalist. You're a urinalist.
People don't like that.
Yeah, and Kim.
Wow, Jayan looks so interested.
With the company and the good work that you've done, your
the shit work
and yourself were huge targets in this phenomenon. Tell us about your experience as well.
Yeah, I would say I think of us almost as like patient zero of this wave of Gamergate, in that I think when I think of it as
well, what a bit of a Freudian slip that was from Ms. Kim Belair describing herself inadvertently as patient zero. So what she's saying is they're not the toxic disease spreading throughout the gaming community. Okay. Oh. The most perfect rendition of an AI Jill Valentine I have created, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, smile for the camera, Jill. Oh, she's very shy at the moment, but normally she's such a beast off camera.
It was kind of the week that we had announced that we were on both Alan Wake 2 and Spider-Man 2, which are 2, I think, popular games among the game community.
So she's not even confident with her own productions that she's worked with. God of War, Ragnarok, and Spider-Man 2, I think they're popular with the gamers. No, they were dog shit. You threw in stupid gay agenda in Spider-Man 2. And, of course, Miles Morales takes up 70% of the gameplay. And Mary Jane had the biggest man chin I've ever seen.
Immediately, I think the targeting began with this kind of like, we found this secret, sinister website from Sweet Baby Inc. Meanwhile, we're on Twitter like, I've been so excited to let people know that we worked on these 2 really great games. And the assumption was essentially made that our work on that had not been story or narrative or character related. It had been to make a black character exist in Alan Wake 2, and I think to put pride flags in Spider-Man 2, and that was kind of like the assumption.
Yes, because I've been reading Spider-Man for a lot of my life, and Stan Lee, when he was alive, would never incorporate that pride flag nonsense in there. Not at all. He would not do that. And neither would Gwen Stacy be wearing a Protect T-Kids on her wall like they showed in Into the Spider-Verse Part 2. Absolute dog shit that she's talking about here. And I really do hate this very disparaging line of commentary right here about, oh yes, well, we needed more blackness in Spider-Man, when in fact, if you go back to the old Spider-Man comics, okay, you had Robbie Robertson, who always locked heads with J. Jonah Jameson, but the 2 gentlemen always had mutual respect for each other. But Kim Belair She calls herself a zeitgeist in the terms of pop culture fandom. She doesn't know anything at all. None of these women here know anything about pop culture. They're focused mainly on one thing, video games, and how we can take our mini girl hatchet out and try to ruin men's entertainment, because that's what women do in this sphere. When men have a hobby they absolutely enjoy, women, and a certain quarter of them, have to come along and try to ruin it. And guess what, girls? It's failing.
All of these games are now woke, that they have people of color in them, or queer people, or any marginalized identities at all. Or even sometimes that, they perceive like, oh, this woman's design is not quite as it used to be, and I think it used to be hotter. So there's a lot of...
Well, now Kim is talking my thing. Yeah, women, sexy women don't exist anymore in video games. But are they women, or have they been transgendered? Like Baz from Concord, played by an insufferable Jamaican singer. That's probably one example. And of course you have to make a big blobby and fat. And then you get a character like Imari, also from Concord, who I would argue is just a blatant racist stereotype of the typical big fat black woman you see walking down your local street, who inhales her own farts before turning into an absolute Karen of absolute monstrosities. But honestly, when it comes to women in video gaming, sexy women, just to piss off the people who might find me and my content rather off-putting, I'm going to flash some images right here, right now. All YouTube safe, all YouTube friendly. And as I've said many, many times before, I adore bums, boobs, thighs, and a pretty white face. Okay, ladies, what were you saying? So sorry I interrupted your verbal diarrhea.
Death threats for the team. The team were worried about putting on this summit, hence why we've held it in this platform in general, because...
So they're holding an indoor summit, which is not the definition of a summit, right? This is a Zoom call. This is not a summit. And why would anybody send death threats to any of these people? Again, Anita Sarkeesian got that back in 2014. Again, I don't condone that behavior, but I can understand the vitriol from gamers around America, maybe around the world, who took an objection to what Anita was saying. And again, these girls are saying, well, black girl gamers, oh, we all got death threats. Really? From whom? Who? I mean, does Jayan Lopez know that there might be hidden extremist groups in the UK, but their focus is not to take down people like her? They've got bigger problems to worry about, called migrants who are coming in illegally into the UK, right? So what is this donut actually talking about?
There was a lot of relentless harassment, death threats, emails, comments.
Black girl gamers were also responsible for foreskin, and that was an absolute catastrophic failure.
Or disinformation around people and companies when it comes to Gamergate. How can people discern?
Ashley, does your breath stink?
So what you want to do is you always want to consider your source. You can get your opinions, you can get your hot takes, you can get your video game reviews from wherever you want, I don't care. But when you are consuming news, like what is happening in the gaming world, consider your source and always consider reliable sources. Your reliable sources are going to be like your big...
Like your ketchup, your mustard, your mayonnaise. Oh, absolutely. I love all those condiments or condoments. Honestly, what this sounds to me like is that, hey, listen, just trust all the sources like Games Radar, GameSpot. She actually names these publications in this video right here, but she seems to struggle to remember IGN, because we know they're a bastion. That's the word I was trying to think of the other day, that Khalif, what's the guy called again? Khalif Adams, yeah, that complete moron, likes to bastardize. He calls it bastion. It's actually bastion. Now what she's saying is don't believe the verbal diarrhea that comes out from my mouth, or 8-Bit Eric's, or Smash JT, or Vara Dark, even Marcus Fox, and have to throw in these two dudes as well, the Mexicanos, Fritinga Plays, and also Hypnotic himself. don't believe us because we're talking absolute dog shit, despite the fact that people like Cabrutus, who put that DEI detected website together, is obviously sending shivers down the spines of these cackling hens right here.
I have a vested interest in making sure that the things that they share with you, the things that they write, are up to journalistic standards.
Which is not, because Rebecca Valentine, IGN, it has been disproven many times that her article covering game science about Black Myth Wukong was an absolute joke, because Ki-Hun Chun, her interpreter who can't speak a word of Mandarin, actually misinterpreted things they picked up because game science, it's sexist, it's toxic, it has a vulgar sense of humor. Oh my gosh, we can't laugh anymore, folks. It's all about shits and giggles in low, small quantities. Or should I say quantities?
There's been this, underlying kind of silence or just ignoring of the Gamergate situation. And what does the industry need to do to help curb these negative moments in the future? I'll start with Kim.
I would say that at a certain point, it's a macro level community management, right? It's learning how to, I think, express these kinds of things, not only when we have these spikes of hate campaigns, but also in general. I think that there are some studios that do a much better job of it than others, I would say, but what I think strikes me all the time is that...
Oh, do you mean like Red Thread Game Studios, whose CEO hates white people? Yeah, they're doing a stellar job there.
I don't think there's as much at risk in speaking out as a lot of people are afraid of, right? I think that there's a lot of, the sense of it'll blow over. And in a way it does.
It
right?
won't. It won't blow over.
And flows, but at the same time, I think that it's completely fine to do it when it's not, when Gamergate is not aflame, right? It's fine.
Rules for me, not for thee. Yeah. Thanks, Kim. Don't call me, and I certainly won't call you, because you might accuse me of harassing her.
To kind of speak your truth to your values and kind of really stand by them. At other times, I think that...
Oh no, she sounds like Galadriel from Rings of Power. Speak your truth.
With telling people, if you don't like this shit, then it's not for you, and you can go elsewhere, and then...
And now, a message from esteemed comic book writer, Miss Susan D. Chronic. Take it away, Susie.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
Gotcha.
Problem solved. You don't like my...
You've acknowledged that the products you work on are absolute shit. So, yeah, ass Parish, she actually got that part right. You're actually slam dunking, you're actually shitting on the stuff you worked on, and you're acknowledging, yes, it might be shit, because I'm going to be making another video after this, folks, regarding Space Marines 2, and I can't wait to cover that because it kind of relates to this in some ways.
So letting the people know that they're not welcome is probably the best thing we can do.
Oh, congratulations. Wow. Coming from the ass of Ashley Parish. If you don't like our video games, piss off. That's what she's basically saying, which is fine because not every game is made for everyone, okay? Tales of Kenzira Zal, that wasn't made for me. It was an ambitious project, but the guy behind it, Abubakar Salim, he obviously had something shoved up his ass because he was so bitter about the game sales. Quite simply, nobody wanted to buy the game.
It's so funny that you say that because the gaming industry had no issue doing that for a very long time when black people were ostracized.
Why were black people ostracized from gaming? Is she mad? Is she? I think she is actually. She absolutely is. So black people, according to the not so black Jayan Lopez, are ostracized from video gaming. Yet we've got Mark Grigsby, a guy I've talked about here before, he's the head of Infinity Ward. Look at this great article here. I'm going to show you very briefly. You've seen it before.
I thought in my mind, I had those rose-colored glasses. Like, yeah, the animations from Modern Warfare 2, and they were pretty awesome. But I got back here, we started putting the videos on the TVs out there in the lobby. It's not flattering at all. At all.
But hey, the animations in this game are going to be...
These, no one can touch these.
So what are we looking at today? We're doing...
G. Willikers, folks. A man who actually enjoys his job right there. And it's not about... I'm a black man, I had to fight my way to get to the top. No, he actually has something called talent. So none of these chicks right here have any experience about coding a video game or being like Mr. Grigsby and sitting down. You talk about how you use animations in Call of Duty to get the best experience out of that game. No, no, no. But these girls, keep smelling your farts, ladies, because I certainly don't want to. Wow, this was just an absolute dog shit fest to sit through. Again, Smash JT mentioned this in his video yesterday, which is basically all of these women ignoring any criticism from the outside. It's all about their own little bubbles and how they like to breathe in and out all the time because that's what they like to do. And honestly, I just find all of you ladies here absolutely ridiculous beyond belief. But I'm going to switch back to the other screen now, folks, because I've had enough of looking at these silly faces. Oh, good grief. Yeah, it's all about toxicity, folks. It's all about death threats against us. Yeah, show us the receipts. Let's see receipts, because I certainly haven't seen anything on the UK news about black girl gamers receiving death threats. Because believe you and me, if that were to happen, there'll be certain news channels out there that would love to do a hit piece about diversity and how this shouldn't be happening in the world of video games from absolutely clueless presenters / journalists who think they've got a handle on what the 4K people like you and me enjoy doing. And I had to take a bullet for you guys today. I had to watch most of this insufferable verbal diarrhea, the online summit, which I think is absolutely a hilarious title for this, because again, the engagement rate is 11,000 views over a period of 3 weeks. I get more views than that in maybe a couple of days on one of my videos. So especially the K-Vez one, how I made it look beautiful for Star Wars Outlaws. And obviously my top popular video at the moment, it still is Resident Evil 5 cannot be remade. So that's 28,000 views. So I've done better in my time on that one than these chicks, black girl gamers. I mean, they got the cringiest thumbnails possible. In fact, one last thing I want to do, folks, before I do sign off. Oh, shock horror, folks. I have not been blocked by BGG. Either that's a very terrible sense of irony, or they just don't care. So, look, Valiant Renegade, Comics Division. I would say, interesting, they are following and they haven't been blocked by these ladies. Well, if you can even actually call them that, and actually want to turn back here because I don't fancy looking at those tits either. But anyway, folks, if you enjoyed this video today, hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, and if I were you, and if you were me, you should come back for the next video.
We've seen before different experiences. It creates something new, and I don't think, outside of that very small audience, I think largely people do want something new. People want to have new stories. People want to go on new kinds of adventures. People want to be able to experience new kinds of game mechanics based on X, Y, or Z. And so for me, it's like, if representation is